we're getting somewhere here, and there we go. Okay, so the presentation that I'm going to be giving today is going to be talking specifically about how to use YouTube to grow a business in one day. I call it the one day business because virtually you can start on YouTube on one day and you can start seeing revenue coming in the following day if you follow these strategies and tactics. Now, a little bit about me. I've been on YouTube for the last 6 years. My family and I have built a YouTube channel. Well, it says here 329,000. We're up to about 340,000 subscribers now, and about 400,000 subscribers overall on all of the channels that we run and operate. And before that, I was in financial services and I owned another business. So I've been an entrepreneur for the last 16 years. My wife and I have written a book. I'm an author. We've written 2 books, actually, an author, speaker, a consultant. I teach people how to use YouTube to grow their business. And I'm also the CEO of Video Marketing World. And these are some of the brands that I've had the pleasure of working with: VTech Toys, Mattel, HEB, Amazon, some of the biggest brands in the world we've done campaigns with. Here's our conference. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get back to live conferences. I'm sure if you guys are like me, you want to be able to shake the hands of the people that you're talking to, that you're networking with. And I miss that. We are having our live conference this October. I'm pleased to announce last year was rough, but on the bright side, we had Mark Cuban last year. So that was pretty cool. Because he was at home, it was a little bit easier to get a hold of him, and we convinced him to come to our virtual event. And so that was pretty awesome. These are some of the clients that I've worked with. This is Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. And I'm going to talk about this specific picture here in just a little bit. There's a secret with this thumbnail. This is a YouTube thumbnail. There's a secret that I want to share with you guys near the end of the presentation that made this thumbnail pop. And so I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. But he's one of my clients, and Russell's awesome. And this is Tim Ballard from Operation Underground Railroad. We've had the pleasure of working with Operation Underground Railroad for the last year. Actually, our company, we started working with them when they had 9,000 subscribers, and now they've got almost 100,000 subscribers. They're just about to break the 100,000 mark. So they've been really killing it in the last year. So I want to talk about video tonight. Why video? Why now? Well, we know there was a global pandemic in the last year, and that brought a lot of challenges, but it also brought a lot of opportunities. And as you can see, these different industries were impacted significantly for the positive. Facebook, Netflix, YouTube. Overall, online streaming, video streaming increased by about 37% year over year in 2020. And these are just some of the numbers. Early on in the pandemic, you'd see some of the spikes, but people were sitting at home consuming content. And honestly, it hasn't stopped, because there are a lot of people who are now working remotely and they're not going back to their offices. And so they're still consuming content online and doing it more than they were in 2019. And that's going to continue to increase, because that's the wave of the future. Movies are now being streamed directly through HBO and through Disney Plus. And so everybody is consuming content from home. So why video? Well, video, as you guys know, being search engine specialists, it's one of the most popular forms of content. It's the easiest to retain when it's, when providing information or how to, it's super easy to retain that information. It's the most sought after to learn about products and product reviews. Think about all of the times that I'm looking at purchasing something on Amazon. I go down into the reviews, I click on the videos because I want to see how the product is in real life. So I'll watch a video either on Amazon or I'll watch a video on YouTube, just so I can see how the person interacts with it and imagine how I could interact with it as well, just based off of what I'm seeing. It also leads to increased conversions on landing pages, increases organic traffic to your website. I'm going to show you some examples of how you can just crush it with YouTube videos on Google. And then it also increases organic search traffic, and then customers, they want more of it. And there is a void that needs to be filled. I need to change my graphic here. This is a little outdated. but I would imagine that online video made up more of 80% than of online traffic in 2020, just from the pandemic. So why YouTube? I believe that YouTube should be at the center of every content marketing strategy. And the reason is because it is a search engine. You can post a video and it can get views for years, and it can drive traffic for years and years and years. Our highest viewed video has 30 million views, and it still gets thousands of views a day. And I made it 5 years ago. So if you use YouTube correctly, you can drive traffic to a website for years to come. So YouTube is the search engine's insanely valuable. I kind of liken it to how blogs used to be back in 2008, 2009. Everybody had a blog because you would get search traffic. It was easy to get search traffic from Google. Well, now that's not the case. We know that. You got to work on your blog for a little bit to get that search traffic. But YouTube is kind of where blogs were in 2008, 2009. You can start a channel, and within a couple months, you can be ranking videos. Within a couple weeks, you could be ranking videos in their search engine, but within a few months, you could be ranking videos on Google, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. So it's one of the easiest ways to get views and build a community. Content can remain evergreen on there, meaning that you can keep the revenue coming in and the links alive, and it's easy to communicate with your community through all of their different communication features, like the community tab, the comments, all of their fun features that they offer through YouTube. And then also, just from a business standpoint, there's a whole ton of different ways that you can earn revenue. And some of the business people, the companies that we work with, actually have YouTube as an entirely new stream of income coming into their business. And in some cases, it can come out to be hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year if you use YouTube correctly. And then the best part is that it's fed through Google. Google will actually pull your videos on certain content, put it on the homepage. And so if you do things right, you can get your business featured on the homepage of Google for your search terms for no cost at all, just creating pieces of content. All right. So in order to maximize YouTube and earn revenue and maximize that profit can come from YouTube, you have to think like a creator. So I like to draw this comparison. The average business owner can make up to 64 cold calls a day. And if they've got a 3% close rate on a $100 product, that's about $200 a day. Multiply that by 365 days out of the year, no breaks, no vacations, no weekends. It's about $73,000 a year. Whereas a creator, a video creator, they can spend one day making one video. If it gets 10 million views and they have a 1/10,000% purchase rate, it's 1,000 sales of a $100 product. That's $100,000 in that year for one day of work. Now, I know, what some of you guys might be thinking. How easy is it to get 10 million views? It's pretty difficult, but you could get 20 videos that got 500,000 views. That's much easier to do. And it's the same result. Instead of working 365 days, you work 20 days. So I like working less and making more. But yeah, so this is, thinking like a creator is important. This is one of our clients. These guys are the Twin Home Experts. They are twin plumbers based out of Los Angeles. And when I first started working with them a few months ago, they had 13,000 subscribers. And from YouTube, they were making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year flowing into their business from the leads that they were getting from YouTube. And not only that, but check this out. They're ranking on Google on the homepage. This is one of their videos right here. Tankless versus tank water heater, 3 myths debunked. And that was in September. That was one that we worked on together. And this is how many views they got as a result of it. Oh, I messed it up. Let's see here. There we go. 176,000 views. Now, this drove business to their website. It drove business into their business. They're based out of LA, but they were getting calls from all over the nation asking for their help. Now, obviously, they can only service people in LA because that's where they're licensed, or LA, Arizona, Utah, but they were getting business from all over the nation. So imagine if you have a national client who's creating YouTube videos to feed their website. This is absolutely doable in almost any category if you put the right things into place. Here's another example of somebody who's crushing it on YouTube through Google. So this is Dr. Gregory Johnson. He's a Houston chiropractor. If you search Houston chiropractor in YouTube, this is who will pull up. He's got almost 500,000 subscribers, and he's just killing it on his YouTube channel. But he's not only killing it on his YouTube channel, this is the first page of Google, and he's also killing it on the first page of Google. Houston chiropractor Gregory Johnson, you can see he's got 4 videos that are ranked on the first page of Google. And just because and this is for Houston chiropractor, so you type in Houston chiropractor in Google, he's going to pull up, his videos will pull up. And so not only is he just absolutely killing it with YouTube, he's getting a ton of views and traffic and revenue coming from AdSense on YouTube, but he is also getting a massive amount of traffic to his business because he's on the front page of Google, where people would typically pay to be on the front page of Google. Dr. Gregory Johnson not only gets it for free, but he gets paid to be on the front page of Google because the AdSense that's attached to his YouTube channel. So that's the power of YouTube and the benefit of YouTube when we're talking about search engine optimization and getting your clients on the front page of Google. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to win with YouTube. I'm going to give you some very specific tips and tactics that will help you grow with YouTube if you implement them correctly, and help your clients grow with YouTube if they implement them correctly. So today we're going to talk about CTR and WT, click-through rate and watch time. These are some of the biggest factors that YouTube takes into consideration when ranking videos and when providing an audience to your content that you're posting. So let's first jump into titles and thumbnails. Yep, sorry. So these click-through rate and watch time are basically your titles and your thumbnails. Your click-through rate is determined by how many people are seeing your content, the impressions, versus how many people are clicking on your content. And then watch time just is it's a metric to show how long people are actually staying on your content, and audience retention, that type of thing. And then also session time, how long, how many videos or how long are people staying on YouTube, the platform, as a result of your content. So if your content just feeds from one video into the next, and it's very easy to consume, and people sit there and watch your content for hours and hours and hours, YouTube loves that. And they will promote you all the way to the moon because they want you to keep people on the platform so they can serve ads to those people and make more money themselves as a business. So we're going to talk about titles and thumbnails, and then we're going to talk about some other little secrets as well. All right, so I always say you want to start your strategy with titles. And the reason that you want to start your strategy with titles is because that's the number one way that people find what they're looking for. People go to YouTube for a specific reason. Sometimes it's just to relax and find some silly content that will help them to relax. But a lot of the times it's because they have a very specific need that they need solved, and you have the answer in your video. So I always say to start your content strategy by coming up with titles. Don't just pull an idea out of the blue and it's Tuesday, we're going to talk about tacos, and and that's your video. That's not going to do very well. You have to be very specific about what your titles are, so that way you can serve an audience that's hungry something that they're looking for, as opposed to just throwing a whole bunch of video content out there and hoping that something sticks. So the other thing is that personality-driven content is out. There used to be a day on YouTube where you can get on the platform and be super loud and have a larger-than-life personality, and that was enough to carry your content. Now, that's still relevant, but it's not a factor that's going to explode your YouTube channel anymore. Now the strategy needs to start with keyword optimization and titles, so that way you can start ranking for videos before YouTube will start suggesting you to outside audiences. So here we go. The title best practices are: number one, the riches are in the niches. So I'm not even talking about just a category. I'm talking about a subcategory within a subcategory. So if you're in the automotive repair industry, instead of being broad as the automotive repair industry, you need to be focused like the transmission specialist or the window repair specialist. And the more focused that you can be with your content, the easier it will be for YouTube to categorize you. And as you grow in that micro category, that subcategory, then you can start to expand once YouTube starts to give you some traffic. So we've had some of the best results in very specific categories. So with these, the twin plumbers, as I was showing you before, they are not just showing people how to fix a toilet, but they have become specialists in how to remove rodents who have burrowed their way into pipes of people's homes. And so they've gotten a lot of traffic from their rodent removal videos where rodents have clawed their way into plastic pipes. I know, very entertaining and engaging. The content is really cool, but it's a subcategory of a subcategory of subcategory. They're not ranking necessarily for just plumbing alone. They're ranking for very specific subcategories. So then you need to, number two for title best practices is to optimize for humans and then optimize for YouTube and Google as well. So a few years back, people were trying to keyword stuff their titles, and we all know how that turns out. It doesn't turn out very pretty because YouTube and Google caught on to that, and they put a stop to that. And so now it's more so, how does your content interact with the human eye first, and then also how can YouTube and Google categorize that content? So I'll show you our title strategy here in just a second to show you exactly what we do. And then number three, let your titles guide your content. Like I said, you want to start with a title. Don't start with an idea, start with the title. And okay, so here's one of our clients. This is the lice lady, Celia, the lice lady. She's got a head lice removal clinic. Kind of gross, but you won't forget it. So she's got a head lice removal clinic. This is a strategy that we used. I used the title strategy I'm about to show you on Celia, and you can see we started in January of 2019, and then by March she was really starting to pick up some momentum, and then by April she was getting 7,000 views a day. Now, unfortunately for Celia, she ran out of budget to fund her YouTube videos right around the May time, and so she kind of stopped. So she peaked in April, and then she settled back down. But here's the beauty of YouTube. Once again, YouTube, unlike any other platform, will continue to show your content. So you can see over the year, over 2020 or 2019, and then into 2020, she didn't produce very many videos. You can see right here, these little gray boxes are every time she put up a video, and she was still getting between 2,000 and 3,000 views a day, which led to clicks to her website, which led to clicks to her products on Amazon. She was selling products almost every single day, and she didn't post a video in 9 months. And then when she stepped back into it at the beginning of 2020, then she immediately saw a spike, and then she settled back down again. And so she's still producing, or she's still getting between 1,500 and 3,000 views every single day, and still selling product almost every single day. So that's the power of YouTube as well. Even when you turn it off, your videos will still continue to be successful, because YouTube, especially in these very niche categories like head lice removal, they need content to serve to their people who are searching for those terms, and Celia has the content readily available. As you can see, yeah, here's some of her content. Woo! Yeah, we'll just kind of gloss through that, but you can see our biggest video on that channel, 666,000 views in 2 years. That's a whole lot of eyeballs coming to her content, whole lot of clicks to her website, and sales of her products. Are you itchy? When I do this live, I wish I could see everybody. When I do this live, I will look out in the audience, and there will always be somebody who's they start to feel that psychosomatic itch. So sorry about that. But again, it's memorable. All right, master your title. So here's our title strategy. Number 1, create the reason to click. So the reason to click is generally to help solve a problem, right? So when people are coming to YouTube, we will use how to a lot because that's what people search. How to draw a butterfly, how to prune your pear tree, some random keyword searches there, but you get the idea. So the reason to click is the how to. Then the number 2 is the first part of your nested bigger topic series keyword phrase. So get rid of lice fast. Get rid of lice fast was a huge, a very popular search phrase in the lice industry when we were creating content on her channel. How to get rid of lice fast. Then let's see here. Number 3, tell what the video is about in an intriguing way. 1 hour treatment. Well, the thing is, we're appealing to emotion with head lice removal. And so when you appeal to emotion, what is the thing that parents want most if their kid has head lice? It's to get rid of it fast. Trust me, my kids had head lice a few years ago, and my wife was just crazy because she wanted it gone yesterday, and she was about to light the whole house on fire. but she wanted it gone fast. So if we can provide that emotional relief to our prospective audience, then that's where we're going to put it. We'll make sure that's in the title. And then we've got a series keyword or phrase integrated as well. Best lice removal. So we'll create a whole playlist of videos that are titled Best Lice Removal. And that's another set of popular keywords in the head lice removal industry. So make sure you screenshot this if you're interested in taking this strategy and implementing it onto your YouTube channel. But this is what we use, and we've been very successful with it. And then this is one of the tools that we use. This is vidIQ. I also use TubeBuddy. I used TubeBuddy for exclusively for other purposes for YouTube, but vidIQ has got a really good keyword tool that I use pretty much exclusively for keyword research on my content as well. So this is just an example. If you were in the medical industry and you were creating content in the medical industry, this is how you would do your research. You type in medical, and then vidIQ will auto-populate different keywords that are popular. That'll give you search rankings or search scores, and then competition scores, and you base your content off of what's hot for that one category. So, for example, if somebody was doing doing clinical trials of the new coronavirus vaccine, and they wanted to create a video about clinical trials, well, the search traffic here is only almost 4,500 searches in the last 30 days, whereas coronavirus, 14 million. Now, this is outdated, by the way, but you get the idea. So what you would do in that case is combine the two keywords into clinical trials of the coronavirus vaccine, and then boom, you got yourself a winning video. And then if any of you have questions, I'll stick around for a while at the end, and I'm happy to answer any of them. I'm sure some of you might be thinking of things you want to ask already. So this is one of our clients. He's local here in the DFW area. His name is Roy Ponder. He's a self-taught weatherman. And what was cool about Roy, I started working with him from his very first video. And I said, Roy, here's what you need to do. You need to put Weather Channel. This is your biggest competition. You need to put Weather Channel in every single one of your keywords or in every single one of your titles. And so he started to do that. And this is what happened. Oh, yep. So you can see it here. So he started to do that. Here's POW Weather Channel, POW Weather Channel. I said, we want to outrank the Weather Channel. That's your biggest competition. We want to outrank the Weather Channel. So he started just putting it in every single one of his titles. And this is what happened. He outranked the Weather Channel. So utilizing a keyword strategy like that, a series keyword strategy, will not only help you to get more search traffic, but it will also help tie your videos together for the suggested algorithm. And ultimately, that's your desired goal, is to get your video content on the suggested into the suggested algorithm, so that way you're not just appealing to people, or you're not just being found by people who are searching for your specific terms, but you're also being found by people who might not even know that you exist, because you're showing up on that little sidebar of their favorite YouTuber. And so this was a great way to get to outrank the Weather Channel. As you can see, he did it a couple of times. And this is incognito too, so we tested this, make sure that it was legit. But he was number 1, he was number 2, and then the Weather Channel, and then somebody else, and then he was also number 5 down there as well. So not only did Roy outrank the Weather Channel, but he kind of crushed them. It was great. Thumbnails. So let's talk about thumbnails now. This is the other big secret of YouTube, because unlike any other social platform, thumbnails really don't matter on a lot. Well, I guess they kind of matter on Instagram, in your main feed, but they don't matter on a lot of other social platforms. YouTube, this is the difference between getting a click or not getting a click. Thumbnails are your marketing department. It's your advertising. Think about it. If you were, let's take McDonald's, for example. If McDonald's, the marketing department was like, hey, we've got to take some pictures of some Big Macs for a new ad campaign that we're putting together. And the marketing department's like, okay, well, let's go get in the car. Let's go down to the local McDonald's and order some Big Macs. And, they go down there, they get their Big Macs, they sit down, they open that little box, and what does it look like, right? There's a hole in the bun, the sesame seeds are everywhere, special sauce is smeared outside on the outside of the box. You've got the lettuce that's kind of spewing out. Maybe the burger is looking a little sad. That's not a very appetizing image. And so what do? They create a plastic burger or a burger made out of clay. They spray it with some water. They add steam effects. They melt Play-Doh cheese, over the top, and add fake lettuce and tomatoes. And then they have somebody inject into perfect spots the ketchup. And that ultimately makes a better picture than the burger itself, right? And so my point is that a lot of people will slack on their thumbnails because they don't know how to do them, or they just don't think that it's that important, when in reality, that's like taking a picture of the Big Mac in the box. It's not appealing to an audience. It's not appealing to the demographic of people you're trying to get to your content. And so you have to be the person who makes the pristine thumbnails. And we'll talk about some of the strategy here in a minute, but you have to make those pristine thumbnails that look very appealing to the prospective audience, because that's what's going to get the clicks. You can have an incredible video, but if you have a terrible thumbnail, you are going to get less clicks than the guy who has a terrible video and an amazing thumbnail. So just keep that in mind. And when you're building out your own channels or working with clients, this is super, super important. You want to make sure that you have your thumbnail game locked in, because that'll be the difference between getting clicks and not getting clicks. All right, so here are some thumbnail best practices. The 3 E's: eyes, energy, emotion. Now, I will say the 3 E's work for a good chunk of content, but not all content. So if you're doing a how-to, if you're doing some type of automotive, something like automotive repair, or where you're showing something, or there was something that's visually stimulating, most people are going to want to see a thumbnail with the subject matter, not necessarily your face. So just keep that in mind. But when you do thumbnails that where faces are applicable, you want to see the eyes, energy, and emotion. And raw emotion generally does very, very well on YouTube. People like to know, why is this person upset? Why does this person look mad? Why does this person look sad? And the negative, unfortunately, the negative emotions kind of outweigh the positive emotions, but you get the idea. Do you stand out? This is number 2. Do you stand out? Are your thumbnails similar enough looking that if you were to take all of your thumbnails, throw them into a big pile, that you could pick out your thumbnails? You throw them into a big pile of a bunch of random thumbnails that somebody could pick out which thumbnails were actually yours. Is there something that is similar about every one of your thumbnails that makes them, gives them continuity? Number 3, understand how Google will see it. So Google Cloud Vision will actually look at your thumbnails and make a prediction about what your videos are about just by having an AI read your thumbnails. So you have to be careful if, for example, it looks like you're wearing a flesh-colored shirt. Google Vision might look at that and say, oh, that person is naked, and then they flag your content for being racy. That can happen. It has happened. Or inappropriate. Or if you've got, ketchup smeared on your shirt, they could see that as violent. So you have to take into consideration how Google is going to see your thumbnails as well, and try to stay in the center lane, so you're not moving too far to the left or the right and getting yourself in the extreme zones that might get your videos flagged. So just keep that in mind as well. You need to ultimately optimize for the viewer. This is most important. How is your viewer going to perceive it? And then using visual storytelling. One of the things that we do, and this is a strategy that I don't share too often, but you want to make sure that you're getting your audience to ask a question when they see your thumbnail. If you can get them to ask a question, then naturally they're going to want to watch your video so they can have that question answered. An unresolved mind is restless. It's got to have the problem solved. So you create a question in your thumbnails, and it gets people to click better. And then clickbait is okay. Now I say that responsibly, right? Back in the old days, you could just throw up a thumbnail of anything, and if it was visually curious, it didn't even matter as long as it got the click. It didn't matter what the video was about as long as it got the click. And then YouTube realized, okay, yeah, this is getting a lot of people upset because they're coming to YouTube, they're clicking on these links, that these thumbnails that have nothing to do with the video, and then they're clicking off of the video and moving on to something else really quickly. So now we need to lock in the next metric, which is audience retention, and then also factor that into the equation, so that way if people click on your link or click on your thumbnail and the video doesn't represent that, then YouTube is not going to share the video to the general population of YouTube because it's misrepresented. So clickbait, what I'm talking about with clickbait is sensationalized or overemphasized type of imagery that still represents what your content is about, but it's just in an exaggerated way. So I use a lot of clickbait in our content because it works, but my audience doesn't feel negative about the clickbait because it's just an exaggeration of what they're going to get. So keep that in mind as well. And then just some like technical things, because thumbnails can be small, especially on mobile. A lot of times we'll oversaturate things or click that clarity, the sharpen more feature in Photoshop will over sharpen it, so that way when you're looking at it at this very small scale down there in the right hand corner, that it's more clear than if you didn't over sharpen it. So keep that in mind too. You got to remember, how is the audience going to perceive your thumbnail? Are they going to see the things that you want them to see? Also, keep them simple. Don't overdo it with a lot of text, a lot of, symbols or arrows. It's just keep things simple, because if you confuse the person who is wanting to click on your content, then they're not going to click on your content. They're going to retreat. So don't confuse the audience. That's bad. So I told you I was going to bring this one back up. This is, again, Russell Brunson. And one of the things that we did with this thumbnail is I got this image from him. This is when he went to Fiji on a Tony Robbins retreat, and he was doing this video about ClickFunnels and the future of his job and the future of ClickFunnels and things like that. And I got this video, and his eyes were completely white. And what I did was I added red in his eyes, around the corners of his eyes, to make him look more emotional, because I know that if people perceive Russell as emotional, then they're more likely to click on it. And this video ultimately ended up doing the best out of the entire series, because it got people to ask the question, why is Russell emotional? Or why does this guy look like he's about to cry? And so emotion, everybody, adding emotion to your thumbnails is super, super effective. Here's another one. This is a video that we did for Operation Underground Railroad last January. And the video, it was an incredible video. It was about this girl who was sold at the hospital. The hospital staff told her parents that she had passed away in delivery, when they actually sold her to an adoption agency. And then she was adopted in America. Her parents here didn't have any idea what had happened. They just thought that the parents, they just put her up for adoption. So after 25 years, she finds her birth parents, and this was a reunion that Operation Underground Railroad helped to facilitate. And this is the first time that this girl, she's the one on the right here, met with her biological mother. And it was just a very emotional and powerful story. I wanted to make sure that the story got told effectively, and it got the amount of traffic that it deserved. So we took this screenshot from the video, we enhanced it a little bit, but I just wanted to tell the story. And then we used these words, she was sold, because we knew that would evoke curiosity. The question is, who sold her? When was she sold? How was she sold? What happened? What is the story? And it worked, and it's got almost 1 million views in the last year. So that's using emotion is massively effective. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is watch time. Making sure that you have a higher audience retention, and you do that through your show format, editing, and authenticity. So one of the creators that I want to talk about real quick that is insanely talented on YouTube, but also an insanely brilliant creator, is Mr. Beast. And it shows, because he's got 50 million subscribers, and he's just crushing it, making millions upon millions of dollars a year. And so he's doing very, very well for himself. But the point with Mr. Beast that I want to make is that if you watch his content, every clip, every second that is produced on his videos is intentional. And the intention is to get the person to watch the next second, the next clip, the next segment. And so watch his content. If you don't know who Mr. Beast is, go watch his content. He's just very talented, great content. But watch how often he makes cuts on his content, and then also watch how he breaks every single one of his videos down into segments, and almost like each segment is a minute or two long, so it doesn't drag on forever. But every segment has a beginning, middle, and end, and sometimes the segments will be cut up. He'll have 5 storylines going on in each video, and he'll be mashing them together simultaneously. But at the end, all the storylines get resolved. So keeping people on YouTube platform is necessary if you want to be successful on YouTube. And the way that you do that is by getting people to not only watch one of your videos, but to watch multiples of your videos, and then to watch each of those videos for the entire time, or as close to the entire time that they're being played as possible. And so Mr. Beast, I know he's got a full-time staff of I probably dozens of people at this point, and he's killing it with YouTube because he knows exactly how to keep his audience on the platform, on his videos for extended periods of time. And he does that through his show format, and he does that through his editing. He's got incredible editors that work for him. And then there's authenticity. You know, he makes people feel like they're his friend. And in one of, you know, just think about your favorite creator. Why are they your favorite creator? And a lot of the times the answer to that question is because you feel like they're your friend. You feel like you relate to them, that you guys could be friends in real life. That's why we're attracted to these people. And that's why authenticity is so important, because humans are going to the internet looking for a human experience on social media. And if you provide them a news experience or a Hollywood experience, it's not authentic, and it's not a real authentic human experience. And so they watch people like Mr. Beast or you know, Good Mythical Morning, or, you know, any of these big YouTubers, because they feel connected to them. So you have to establish that connection in your content in order to be successful as well. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all that I've got prepared for you today. And if anybody's interested in talking to me about these things, I love chatting about it. But this is my website, rafidi.com. And then you can connect with me on Instagram or social media. Most places is I'm Scott Simpson without a P. So thank you so much for allowing me to present. And I'm happy to stick around and answer questions until you guys are all out of questions.
Thank you very much, Scott. So we do actually have a couple of questions here in the chat.
Awesome.
We have one from Carl.
Hey, Carl.
And Carl wants to know, can you dig deeper into series keywords and what that means? Yeah, so a series keyword, so you have very specific, highly focused, targeted keywords that will only make good videos, right? How to, so it's like how to put pepperoni on your pizza, right? There's only one way to do that. Well, I'm sure somebody can invent a couple of ways, but that doesn't make a series. That how to put pepperoni on your pizza would not make a good series. How to create a delicious pizza would. And so it's taking the category up one tick and then allowing and then creating a bunch of content in subcategories underneath a larger category. I hope that made sense. It made sense in my brain, but I don't know if my brain got to my mouth and effectively. So hopefully that made sense. It's essentially just creating categories, creating content under categories. Carl says, sounds good, but then do you use them? Sorry, rereading this again. Sounds good, but do you then use the upper level in every title? i.e., do you repeat the high level category over and over? Yeah, so it would be like how to put pepperoni on pizza, delicious pizza recipes. How to put mushroom on pizza, delicious pizza recipes. How to put anchovies on pizza, delicious, not delicious pizza recipes. So exactly. Okay. And then we've got another question. Carl says, thank you. We've got another question from JW, and he says, Scott, are your clients considering titles before the content is made or after? Yeah, so when we work with our clients, we actually will put together an entire title strategy before we ever touch the camera. And so I usually will create a spreadsheet that has all of the main categories that we're wanting to create content under, and then we will create individual video titles that will go under those main categories. And then we'll start filming. Okay, and then Jordan has a question. How close does your subject matter need to be to your primary product? As an example, Jordan sells golf tee times. Can you use high affinity subject matters to lure prospective customers in?
Yeah, absolutely. But you have to remember, you got to take competition into consideration. So the more concentrated that keyword is, or the more competition that it has, the less likely it is that you're going to rank for that instantly. So it's better to try to be as focused as possible in the beginning, so that way you can start ranking for that content earlier on, and then kind of grow from there. But with with tee times, it would be like doing golf training on a very specific golf technique that not a lot of other people are using, and then having golf tee times kind of be your golf tee times be a call to action that you would give in your content, and having links in your description and things like that you're directing people to.
And then Jordan has a follow-up question about gauging competition. I heard you mentioning vidIQ and TubeBuddy. Are those the tools that you use to gauge competition, and those are your essentially only keyword planner tools that you use for YouTube?
Yeah, those are the only keyword planner tools that I use for YouTube, and I would. You need to have like the top tier of those tools, and they run probably around $50 a month. And so if you were to pick one, I would pick TubeBuddy over vidIQ, because TubeBuddy offers more features that will benefit you later on down the road. So TubeBuddy is my number one pick for an analytics tool, or just advanced tools for keyword research on YouTube. But if you can do both, then you can get the features, the benefits of both.
Okay. And that's TubeBuddy as in YouTube minus the U, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Great. Then Chris has a question. She's wondering, in the descriptions, do you use hashtags? If so, would that help?
So hashtags are one of the features of YouTube that nobody has ever really done anything like any massive testing on, and they haven't ever been proven to lead to any significant traffic. So I still use them in every video because it's a feature that YouTube gives me, and if they give me a feature, I'm going to use it. But I don't put a lot of effort into like a hashtag strategy, and I also don't put a lot of weight into it, or it doesn't carry a lot of weight in the big picture, in the grand scheme of things.
Okay. And then Chris also has a follow-up question. So if hashtags aren't necessarily important to include in your description, what is important to include in your description on YouTube?
Yeah, so I didn't get into descriptions very deep just for time, but descriptions are really like how would you write a blog post, and essentially what you want to do is take a number of the keywords that you want to rank for on your channel, and then you will put them into a natural, organic sounding couple of paragraphs that highlight your video, yes, but then also talk about the bigger picture category that you're in as well. So that way you're mashing in keywords in an organic way, in a fluid way, but also alerting the algorithm that, hey, my channel is about this subject matter, so please give us traffic, for any of these keywords.
Okay. And then I had a question, but it turns out I can't read my handwriting.
A doctor.
Yep. You know what? I really was a doctor in my my former life. Hopefully it'll come to me later.
There you go.
So, but
okay. And then Jordan says here that he's got the free version of TubeBuddy. So the free version will give you limited tools, and the legend version gives you the most amount of tools. And I will hands down say the legend version is worth its weight in gold, because just with A/B testing alone, the ability to take two different thumbnails and run them up against each other is is an incredible tool for long-term success on YouTube. And then also just reviving older content. We've taken the TubeBuddy AB tool and used videos that are still getting a couple hundred views a day that were produced, a couple of years ago, and then creating new thumbnails for them, and then sparking life back into that content, turning it from 100 views a day into 500 views a day. So the TubeBuddy legend is incredible.
Okay, so that actually helped me read my writing on my Post-it note. So if you aren't following best practices, is it good to go back and edit all of your videos? Like if I wasn't using the right titles or the right descriptions, is it worth it to go back?
Yeah, and what I would say is start slowly. You don't want to go back and try and redo every video all at once, because I've seen channels that have been penalized for that for months, because YouTube is like, well, what's going on? They're hitting with too much information. There must be something shady or sneaky going on. So just be careful with that. Do one video a day where you go back and you change the title. And I would start with the videos that have the most amount of the most amount of potential. If they're still getting views, just not a lot of views, start with that content first.
Okay. Well, this was incredibly helpful. I know that I'm definitely going to take some of these takeaways back to my team and see if we can implement them. It looks like that's all for the questions in the chat. So thank you, Scott, again for your time. We really appreciate you taking the time to come and speak to us today. So, but with that, this ends today's presentation.
Thanks, everybody.